At least 4 people were killed and dozens were injured after Russia launched a massive combined attack on Ukraine's capital, Kyiv.
The President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, is proposing 3 solutions to provide financial support to Ukraine.
Several regions in Portugal remain under an orange warning for rain after Storm Claudia caused widespread flooding and damage across the country.
At least 4 people were killed and dozens were injured after Russia launched a massive combined attack on Ukraine's capital, Kyiv, early on Friday. Kyiv's mayor Vitaly Klitschko said the drone and missile strikes sparked fires in residential buildings across multiple districts. City authorities warned that power and water outages were possible. Among the injured are 2 children, and 9 people have been hospitalized, including a pregnant woman. The attacks also damaged a hospital, a school, and wooden buildings at a sports facility, the state emergency service reported. The strikes come as Russia makes gains in southern Ukraine. Ukrainian forces have withdrawn from several villages in Zaporizhia amid fierce fighting against Russian forces. Ukraine, meanwhile, has launched sustained long-range drone attacks on high-value military-related assets inside Russia.
Ukraine is launching a massive anti-corruption audit of all state-owned companies, Prime Minister Yulia Sviridenko announced on Thursday. It comes after allegations surfaced surrounding one of the largest state energy companies, Energoatom, who were reportedly involved in a graft scheme.
Уряд одразу почав реагувати. Ми вже ухвалили перші рішення. Вчора внесла подання щодо звільнення міністра юстиції і міністра енергетики до українського парламенту. Разом з міністром економіки ми запустили комплекс заходів для перезапуску Енергоатому. Ми ухвалюємо комплексне рішення щодо всіх державних компаній, в першу чергу енергетичних.
Earlier on Thursday, President Volodymyr Zelensky signed a decree imposing sanctions on 2 Ukrainian businessmen implicated in the probe. They're accused of masterminding a scheme which manipulates Energoatom contracts to extract kickbacks worth 10 to 15%. Investigators say the 2 businessmen and their network of operatives allegedly laundered around $100 million.
Я думаю, це більш за все якийсь негатив, бо поки у нас триває війна, треба як об'єднуватись і гроші вкладати в оборону. А тут таке відбувається, що гроші навпаки крадуть і роблять на цьому якийсь бізнес, то це якось дуже сильно неправильно.
The Ukrainian premier says corruption probes will continue across all facets of government with the aim of fully eradicating it. The European Commission noted that the investigation is proof that the country's anti-graft bodies work and praised Kyiv for its efforts.
The European Commission is proposing alternative solutions to provide financial support to Ukraine. The president of the institution presented several options on Thursday. One is to use the European budget's room for maneuver to raise funds on markets. Another possibility would be to let member states raise the necessary capital themselves. But Ursula von der Leyen is also proposing a third option.
Option 3 is to have a reparations loan. This is based on immobilized Russian asset. So this would mean take the cash balances from the immobilized Russian assets, hand them as a loan to Ukraine, and Ukraine has to pay back this loan if Russia pays back reparations. This is the most effective way to sustain Ukraine's defense and its economy.
This 140 billion euros loan would allow member states to avoid issuing new debt. It would involve using funds held by the Brussels-based company Euroclear. But to do so, Belgian fears must be assuaged. Brussels does not want to be left unprotected in the event of legal challenges once the war ends. Time is running out, however, as Ukraine will need fresh money in the first half of next year.
Hundreds of Parisians gathered here at the Place of the République in central Paris, where I am currently standing this Thursday night with flowers, candles in hand, to remember the 132 people who were killed during the November 13th Paris terrorist attacks 10 years ago. Earlier, the day's ceremonies were somber, with French President Emmanuel Macron, along with his wife Brigitte, and Paris Mayor Anne Hidalgo, paying tribute alongside former leaders, survivors, and families of the victims at the different attack sites through the city, from the cafes to the terraces, the Bataclan Concert Hall, and the Stade de France. At each site, names of the victims were read aloud in quiet reflection, honoring those who were lost. The evening ceremony that started at 6 p.m., however, was deeply moving, culminating in the inauguration of the November 13th Memory Garden opposite the Paris City Hall. And Thursday night, the Eiffel Tower lit up once again in blue, white, and red, the colors of the French flag. Church bells, including those of Notre Dame, rang across the city, echoing through a Paris that still bears the scars of the attack, but has never lost its light. Sofia Katsenkova, reporting from Paris for Euronews.
Several regions in Portugal remain under an orange warning for rain on Friday after Storm Claudia caused widespread flooding and damage across the country. The district of Faro in the south of Portugal was particularly affected on Friday, with heavy rain and strong winds causing flooding and trees to fall over. On Thursday, weather warnings were in place for half of the country, and thousands of households were left without power. The storm also claimed the lives of at least 2 people who died following flash floods near Lisbon. Storm Claudia is expected to bring persistent rainfall and strong winds to parts of England and Wales later on Friday. Amber warnings have been issued by the Met Office across several regions, and additional yellow severe weather warnings are in force across most of England and Wales.
The presence of fossil fuel lobbyists at this year's COP30 climate talks in Brazil is higher than ever, according to a report from Kick Big Polluters Out. More than 1,600 lobbyists have been granted access to the summit, proportionally a 12% increase from last year's talks in Baku, Azerbaijan. The report indicates that these lobbyists outnumber almost every country delegation, with the exception of host country Brazil. KBPO, which has tracked industry participation at COP since 2021, says the presence sparks concern about corporate capture of climate action and the credibility of the COP. The report says the industry presence threatens the stated goals of COP30, in a critical moment for the implementation of the Paris Agreement, as emissions from fossil fuels are on track to reach an all-time high this year.
返回舱着陆. 3 Chinese astronauts returned from their country's space station on Friday after a delay of more than a week. The return capsule they had planned to use was damaged, likely after being hit by space debris. The original return plan was scrapped because a window in the Chenzhou 20 capsule had tiny cracks, China's space agency said. Instead, the team left their spacecraft in orbit and came back using the recently arrived Chenzhou 21, which had ferried a 3-person replacement crew to the station, the space agency said. The astronauts had been on a 6-month rotation and were originally scheduled to return on the 5th of November, 4 days after the new crew arrived. Their return was delayed by 9 days, making their 204-day stay in space the longest for any astronaut at China's space station.
Ben Richards, 35, married, 1 child, in medical crisis.
We need money for a doctor now.
Ben, watch yourself.
Employment status, blacklisted. But there's still a way out for you. It's the biggest show in the country.
Bloodlust is our birthright! Set it free! Welcome to the Running Man!
The reality is that, you know, we're really basing this on the Stephen King book. You know, it's like one of the things that even Arnold, you know, talks about, which is they, you know, when he made his movie in '87, practically, you know, it's really tough. This movie takes place out in the real world. So, like, this Our game is where the entire world is hunting one man, you know, and they sort of had to isolate it to a television studio, almost like American Gladiators. I guess you guys had like British Gladiators, right? Yeah, something like that. So they had to sort of isolate it in a different way to just make it more practical to shoot. Ours kind of takes it out, which is, it's a lot more. We saw for logistical reasons, it's very tough. It's a tough movie to shoot.
Is why you can win this game. The rules are simple. Survive 30 days with the entire nation hunting you down. And get your family out of Slumside for good.
2 stages to that is he loved the screenplay, which was really important to us because we had done an adaptation of the book, and you know, even though it's more faithful, we had made some changes as well. And so Stephen, you know, like had to sign off on the screenplay and really loved it and loved what we kept and loved what we changed, and you know, that's a fantastic for me because I'm such a fan of his. But then also it creates a new pressure because now I have to live up to that.
Hey buddy, you're on Freebie.
You better run! I got a grenade!
Back at you.
I'm still here, you shit-eaters.